Hello, good morning. This is Mr. Zaren Aleta Gadi, and today I will be sharing to you my reflections on starting the research proposal. And this video is my response to your questions uh, on my when you asked me about to share something about starting the research proposal. And I think this is the best way to share what I know is to create a video lecture under that topic. So the content of this video are my best practices that I am doing in my class uh, in write in guiding them in writing the research proposal. So before we start, I would like to interest you in my books. I have four books. The first book that I published is about quantitative research. The second is in writing qualitative research. Uh, I also co-authored an action research primer for faculty researchers together with Professor Jonathan Prado. And my recently published book is all about immersion diary for grade 12 senior high school students. So the price is included in the slides and details on how to order. You can send a text message on the numbers provided. So let's start. So frequently asked question, can you give or suggest a research title that I can propose in master's or doctorate class? When I encounter this question, I don't actually give them the right title or the right problem that they may explore as part of their research class. But I always telling them that they need to focus to concentrate on the concern, on the needs of their offices, on the needs of their work, if they are already working, or for senior high school students, their interest on their specific track or strand. So, with that, they will be guided on what to do or what to propose. So, uh, three important points that we must always consider in writing research proposal. First is consistency. We need to be consistent. The problem that you will be proposing should be consistent on what you are doing. Therefore, the respondents that you will be collecting should be coming from your workplace for accessibility reason or uh, for you to be more uh, to experience ease on collecting the data, your respondents must be the one that is surrounding you. Consistent. Another good feature of consistency is that your problem is almost related to you. Thus, you are enthusiastic on doing it. Your enthusiasm towards your research problem will fuel your motivation in doing and finishing your research study. So you need to be very close on that problem. You must be interested on that problem because if you are not interested on that problem, you may be submitting your research for compliance purpose. And then after that, it will just be perishing or it will just perish from the shelves. So your enthusiasm should not end after finishing the data gathering or after publishing it. When you are consistent on doing something, then you try to improve it. I think that's the value of research. When we do research, we try to explore a particular area of interest, probably related to our field. And that enthusiasm that fuels our motivation is the one that is pushing us to dig deeper on the areas that can be a great opportunity for a research endeavor. And lastly, relevance. Relevance is when you are thinking how can you contribute using your study at the end of your study, how will it contribute? How will it better the area of discipline you are specializing? So relevance. How relevant will it be to your respondents? How will it be that relevant to the people that we will be uh, interested as well at the results of your study? So, say for example, you are a teacher. How will that be so relevant to your students, to your colleagues, to the administration? So, these things are areas that we need to consider. Okay, these are criteria that we need to consider: consistency, enthusiasm, and relevance. So, how do we start with our research proposal? I'm always telling them to focus on the need of their workplace, the need of on their workplace, the need on their uh, interests. What interests them? So, focus. Where should you focus? The first one is, let us remove the thought that at the beginning of the research proposal, a title should be ready. That is very wrong. A title, a research title, can only be called as a final research title once you have defended it. But as long as you are working with your research, you are still collecting data, you are still reviewing your literature, you are still strengthening your claim about your study, then we can say that what you are having is just a working title. So before you proceed or before you have this working title, you need to consider again another 3 points that will help you to strengthen the grasp on your proposal. Also, strengthening consistency in your proposal. So what are these 3 areas that we need to consider? The first area is interest, followed by concerns, and the third one is output. Okay? The first one is interest. What interests you? As an engineer, what interests you? As an educator, what interests you? As a frontliner, as a medical frontliner, what interests you? So, interest is very important in starting your research because it is your entry point. Okay? It serves as your entry point in writing your research proposal. That interest of yours will then put you in front of a particular concern that is in need of researching. Something that we need to understand is that research came from 2 words, re and search, making it different from what we are doing in the internet, which is most of the time browsing. So when we do research, there is already an existing knowledge, an existing concept that we want to explore again. Probably something that you will be contributing in a new context, probably a theory that is existing, and then because of your research you have successfully challenged the theory. So re and search, to look again, to look again. So when you have already your interests, you know what to explore in your particular area of discipline, then concern will follow, and then you have output. When we speak of output, what will happen at the end of your study? You know, when you're starting your research proposal, it is always important to think who will benefit at the end of your research, because thinking about these people who will be enriched because of the data that you will be soon to present to them, thinking of them is already a source of motivation enough to fuel you uh, to pursue the study that you want to have or that you want to do. So output is very important. After the rigors of data procedure or data gathering, what will happen to the data next? How will you make sense with your data? Is it enough to do a conceptual explanation of everything? Or you need to do an action plan at the end of your research work? An action plan is very important because an action plan allows you to have your data alive in a particular area of discipline. This is what connecting, okay? Your action plan is the one that connects you from the people you deemed significant in your research study. So, interest, concerns, output. So, let's get inside of it. Again, when we speak of interest, you are talking about, or we are talking about, your specific discipline. uh, Working with YUM students, working with STEM students or senior high school students, I learned different interesting areas on their specific field. Say, for example, most STEM students uh, will will propose on uh, will propose on experiments just like that. Uh, Innovations on the field of life sciences and the like. YUM students may explore the existence of a particular phenomenon. Or if you are a teacher, an educator, you may be interested in improving pedagogy or improving instruction. You may want to see how the students are accepting uh, the challenges offered by this new normal. So when we speak of interest, you may be talking about the specific discipline, what's the nature of your work, and at the same time, something that is existing in the environment that is in need of research. So this is where you start interest. And then upon determining that specific point of interest that you want, then let's go with the concern, a particular case in the workplace or discipline. In my case, okay, in my case, as an educator, my interest is always the research skills, okay, the research skills of the students. So with that, my concern is that their growing need to strengthen, okay, their research skills, since as they progress, okay, in the academic ladder, research is inevitable. So since my interest is focuses rather, since my research interest focuses on the research skills of the students, okay, as an educator, the research skills of my students, my concern there is that in the data that I have collected before, as the grade level increases, the research skills is decreasing. So there's already a concern. There is already a particular case in my workplace or in my particular discipline. So when you think of your concern, which is related to the interest, you must also be thinking specific now. You must be specific with your variables. You must be specific with who the person, okay, who will be the respondents of your study. These concerns allows you to think more specific rather than being broad or general. So, let me repeat. So, if my interests is all about the research skills of my students, the concern there is as the grade level increases, their research skills decreasing. While the fact that research is inevitable as we go higher on the academic ladder. So there's already a concern. Can you see the progress now? Can you see the progress is starting from a particular interest? So if you are an administrator and and you see that your teachers are having difficulty in adjusting in this new normal in terms of technical skills, in terms of digitization. So technically you have your interests. Your interest is their teaching instruction. What is the concern? They are having difficulty in teaching because of the challenges provided by the new normal in terms of the technicalities or technology or the devices that they must be using to connect with their students online. So there's already a concern. Okay, I work with a very good friend of mine who is taking an MBA, and they have very interesting study about the use of digitization in online banking. So technically, that person's interest is focusing on client, okay, client responsiveness in this new normal. And then his concern is all about the use of digital banking. So there's a concern. So what challenges his clients to use fully the online banking system? So concerns. There is an already a concern. Another good friend of mine who is also taking an MBA, her study is all about uh, the digitization attitude of the workers on a particular bank. So what is her interest? Her interest is the technical know-how of these people. So what are the concern? Because of the emerging transition from manual banking to digital banking, plus the context of the pandemic, how are these people adjusting? So from interest to concern. And then lastly, you need to think, how will I make sense with the data that I have collected? So you may be thinking of an innovation coming from the data that you have successfully collected and interpreted, coming from your statistics, coming from the synthesis of your work if you are doing a qualitative research design or a qualitative research. And uh, it may be a good starting point for to improve the organizational climate. So, what output can you provide? What output can you provide? So, when you are thinking or when you are asked to do a research proposal and you don't know where to start, I hope this simple framework that is in front of us will help you, okay? Will help you to understand what to do, okay? What to do and where to start. Again, interest, concern, and output. Again, it's interest, concern, and output. Next, let's have an example. As I said a while ago, say for example, you are an administrator and you are facing teachers, okay? So your interest can be the teaching in the new normal. So we all know very well that we are now, okay? We will now enter months from now. We are now to enter once again the second uh, new normal academic year, if lack of a better term. So your interest can be teaching in the new normal. And then your focus. Where is your focus? Where is your area of concern? So technically, you may be interested in the adjustment of teachers in the new normal education. So this adjustment can be more specific when you already lay your objectives. Okay, when you already lay your objectives, and then the output of your study would be training or skills enhancement program. So from that three ideas, you have already a problem in your mind. So if you are being asked, what is your research all about? Have you already think of a proposal to begin with? You may say, my interest actually is teaching in the new normal because I am an administrator. And since we are entering the second academic year in the context of the new normal, I believe that there are still teachers who are adjusting. Oh, you are already going into the concern part. They are adjusting, in particular, in the area of technology, the digitization of instruction, and at the same time, the records management. So probably from first year to the second year of new normal education here in the Philippines, there may be still teachers who are adjusting. Oh, that's what I'm telling you. If you know these three instances, interest, concern, and output, you can just tell your proposal like you're telling a story. But that story is more objective than you are telling a story of fantasy and the like. So interest, concern. So if you are being asked, so what about teaching in the new normal about their technical adjustment? Then the next answer is on the output. Oh, after collecting the data, probably through survey, I can understand better my teachers on the particular construct that they are having difficulty. And from that, I can propose a training skills or enhancement program. Right? There's alignment. Alignment is very important. So, from your interest to your concern and to the output of your research work, there is an alignment. So, once again, there's focus, there's interest, there's concern, and there is an output. So, what's next? Once you're done identifying, once you're done identifying these three, you may now write the objective of your research work. So, what is the objective all about? When we speak of the objective, I would like you to know, if teachers are listening to me right now, if our lesson plan starts with a learning competency or an objective that we need to address, research should also be grounded on the objectives that you want to fulfill. Thanks to your data gathering, thanks to your research design, and thanks to the output that you will be soon proposing at the end of your study. So, objectives. This is very important. This is one of the flame that ignites your research to be alive and to be connecting. Okay? Connecting with your participants, with your respondents, with your locale, with your environment. Objectives are very important area of consideration in writing a research. So, once you have once you have identified your objective, remember these objectives will further influence number 1, the method of your study. The method of your study. It will further influence the method of your study. The second, it will influence the instrument that you will be needing to your study. We need to understand that the instrument of your study is not just a simple instrument that you will be presenting just to get a yes or no response, just to get a 4-3-2-1 response, or just to get a lengthy response through an interview. No, the instrument of your research work, the instrument of your research work should still be aligned with the research objective and with the focus that you have started. So, if your concern is all about the teaching adjustment or the adjustment of teachers in the new normal, in particular on the technical know how of the teachers, it must be evident in the instrument that you are doing, and the method should align to the objective that you want to fulfill, that you want to answer, and method, instrument, and the data. Will you be needing a quantitative numerical data? Will you be needing a Likert data, or uh, an instrument that only answers yes or no? Or will you be needing a rubric that will help you assess or observe a particular phenomenon? So, what kind of data you will be needing in your study should follow on the method and the instrument as influenced by your research objectives. So, I'm always telling my students, objectives are areas of your study that is very relevant from start to finish. Again, objectives are relevant part of your study that is uh, that is very important, okay, from start to finish. It should be consistent from start to finish. You start your research with your objective, then you finish it by answering and looking, reviewing your objective. Now, method, when we speak of the method of your work, okay? When we speak of the method of your work, we must consider, okay? We must consider uh the different designs that a research may offer. Okay? So, first, remember this, researchers. I want you to remember this by heart, not only by your mind, so that when you encounter these areas of concern, you will be knowledgeable with it on its alignment in your study. Okay? So, if your objective will tell you to measure a phenomenon, okay, you may be needing to do a quantitative descriptive design. Okay? So, what I mean about this is that while you are working with your proposal, you must already have a strong working knowledge about your research designs. Okay? So, you have already thought of your focus, you know your interest, you know your concern, you know the output that you want to have. Okay? You have already your objective. Now, how will you perform or how will you address that objective if you don't have any strategy to collect data, to be uh, to be in front of your participants, to collect the responses from your respondents. Therefore, a very good method in research, a very good knowledge in research method is important as you progress in your research proposal writing. So, method. So, when you want to measure a particular phenomenon, I'm using the term of Creswell, Cohen, yan, uh, you may be using quantitative and descriptive. If you want to understand the phenomenon, okay, according to Yin, okay, 2011, if you want to understand the phenomenon, therefore, you must immerse from the traditions, designs of a qualitative research. So we have narrative research, uh, phenomenology, ethnographic design, case study, which lies between quanti and quali. And we also have a grounded theory. So if you want to understand the phenomenon, so when you do your objective, you must consider these things. If you want to create and recreate the phenomenon, create, recreate the phenomenon, then an experimental study can be your design. You want to create the phenomenon, recreate it, establish integrity in your data through constant repetition of results, replication of results, then do an experimental research work uh, to to some to teachers like me. We use quasi experimental research design or the pre-test and post-test design to measure a particular intervention. And lastly, if you want to follow the phenomenon after quantifying it, you try to use the quantitative results to determine the presence of that result to a group of person. Then you do a qualitative immersion from that particular environment. So you are following the phenomenon. You didn't stop at the quantitative part. Then you may be interested in doing a mixed method research. Why I'm telling you this? Because this is very important. Research proposal is a celebration. Research proposal is a celebration of your knowledge, of your grasp. Okay? It is fireworks display of your intellect, of your skill in doing research. What you have learned from your research 1, research 2, this is the culminating activity. And because it is the culminating activity in that early stage of the proposal, you must see or you must show how the quality of your learning from those subjects or courses that you underwent. So, proposal is not only about writing your title. It's not only having an approved title, but it is also having Okay? It is also embracing your grasp, your understanding on writing a particular research. So we didn't stop. We did not stop. I did not stop when I said that you need to have focus, interest, concern, and output. I didn't stop there. I continued. You need to have your objectives. You need to have your method. Okay. So let's go to the example that we have. So as I said a while ago, you can now be more specific and particular when you write your objectives. So again, my interest is teaching in the new normal, the adjustment of teachers in the new normal education, and the training skills enhancement program of the teacher as an output. So objectives. So my first objective, when you write your objective, the advice that I can give is look on how will you value your data at the end. Because you may be writing many objective, but you are not answering anything with regards to your research topic. So when you write your objective, you need to focus. Okay? You need to focus your work, okay, on answering the existing problem offered by your interest, explained by your concern, so that you can be you can create an output at the end of your work. So in my objective here, it says I want to assess the extent of adjustment among the faculty of school ABC in teaching in the new normal classroom. Therefore, I would like to see the adjustment of these teachers, the adjustment uh, in teaching in the new normal. Number two, I would like to determine whether a relationship can be drawn on the teacher's knowledge on classroom digitization, on the motivation of the teacher to teach in the new normal. And then number three, I would like to recommend feasible training programs that will address the challenges of the teachers in adjusting the new normal. There are some researchers who do the other way. They try to enumerate first the variables of their study and then try to write the objectives. There are some researchers who do this step. They try to have literature review of their study. They write their objective and then they enumerate their variables. So, in my works as a researcher and as a research teacher, I did those two way. I write my objective first and then I enumerated my variable. I enumerated my variable first and then I write my objective. But I found interesting and I found very helpful if I have a working knowledge first in my literature, through my literature, write my variables and then write my objectives. So let us proceed next in the identification of the variables. So by the way, from this objective, I am guided that I will be using a quantitative design through survey method, and the instrument that I will be using is a researcher made questionnaire. So you will now be asked by your panel, what are the areas of concern that you want to explore in particular in the adjustment in the new normal? So let me present to you another style that I learned, the use of variable box. So we have the independent variable and the dependent variable. So in my senior high school class and in my college classes, I teach this as a strategy so that they can create alignment with their variable, statement of the problem, research design, and statistics. So the independent variable, just a review, these are the profile of your respondents, and most of the time, the point of comparison for causality of your study. You try to compare by group vis-a-vis the dependent variable. So the dependent variable can be your measure. You measure this to attain your objective. It is helpful for the acceptance or the rejection of the null hypothesis. This also contains your determinants or constructs that you want to specifically explore in your research work. And for the output, the result of your data collection, statistical analysis, and interpretation. We always seek alignment with your objective. As I said a while ago, your objective is your measure whether you were able to whether you were able to answer the need of your study. So always seek alignment with your objective. Now, how can we use this variable box to be to in writing the specific concerns or the specific problems of our research work? So first, I will be writing the independent variable that is related to the participants of my study. Since the participants of my study will be the faculty of school ABC, my variables may include the following: sex, age, and years in teaching service. Since I will be talking about the technical know-how of my teachers, I would like to see their knowledge on classroom digitization using a modified questionnaire. Okay, using a modified questionnaire. So when we say modified questionnaire, we align the context of an existing questionnaire on the need of our research work. Of course, you must seek always approval from the original author before you modify something. The constructs, okay, the constructs of my research work, the constructs of my research work are my dependent variable, which includes the adjustment of the teachers used in the internet accessibility, technical competence. I want to see how they adjust in their teaching competence. I want to see their adjustment uh, in communicating in a virtual classroom. So these are the constructs that I would like to see in my research. Another one is their motivation towards online teaching. So these are the dependent variable. These are the variables that I will measure that I would like to see among my teachers, the extent that is probably with my teachers. And as for the output, okay, by the way, a piece of advice: have your literature reviews ready. Always, always have your literature reviews ready. Okay? No researcher cram for their literature review. Okay? And then defining the terms under the light of theory. You need to define it. Why? Many researchers forget that one important part of their research is the definition of terms. The definition of terms provides us the consistency on the use of technical jargons, terms that we are using in the study. And when we say terms, it must be consistent. So you cannot have uh, a different meaning of this term in your chapter 1 and then it's already different in your chapter 3. You need also to define the operational term of your study. Okay? These can help you become more familiar on the role of your variable in your research study. This can help you be more familiar. And then the output. What I would like to create a capacity building plan for teachers on the use of technology in teaching. Now, remember that the boxes contain the problems that you must answer in your research study. The problems are already there. Okay? The problems are already there in the boxes. So you can just translate it into question form. What are the characteristics of the faculty in terms of sex, age, years in teaching service? This is what we call the demographic profile. We also have what is the level of faculty knowledge on classroom digitization. So these the answer in this question can only be collected through a survey or an attitudinal or a Likert scale. So as you can see, this study is more on the quantitative descriptive part. So the second one, or the dependent variable, What is the extent of adjustment among faculty respondents in preparing for online classes in terms of the internet accessibility, the technical competence, the teaching competence, and then the communication in the virtual classroom. And we also have another variable under the dependent variable column, which is the level of motivation in teaching online among the faculty respondents. So we would like to see how motivated are teachers in this new normal teaching. Now, the second objective of the study, if you can still remember, is to determine whether a relationship exists. Yeah. Whether a relationship can be drawn on the teacher's knowledge and classroom digitization on the motivation of the teacher to teach in the new normal. Therefore, we may be using a two-headed arrow to connect the two boxes, which shows which informs us researcher that we are trying to explore whether a significant relationship may be existing. So we may be crafting the question as, is there a significant relationship between the teacher's knowledge and classroom digitization and their motivation in teaching online? Another one, many from my experience in checking thesis in terms of their statistical alignment and in their interpretation of results, there are questions about significant difference in which the researcher tries to view whether variability or a difference is existing. A statistical difference may exist, okay, from the from the participants when they are grouped according to their independent variables. So here we can say, is there a significant difference on the extent of adjustment among teachers in preparation for online classes if they are grouped according to the demographic profile? Second one is the motivation of teachers. There's significant difference in the motivation of teachers towards online teaching if they are grouped according to demographic profile. And of course, the last box is the output box. From the results of the study, what output can be crafted to address the challenges of teachers in teaching online? So, from this practice that I'm sharing to you, you may be seeing it as tedious and very long, but it can assure that alignment is present and you will be guided on what statistical treatment you may be using if you are using a quantitative descriptive design. So again, do not forget that we have started from our focus, we have drawn our objective, now we have our variables, and now we have our statement of the problem or our specific questions. For researchers, I want you to remember, focus always on your alignment. Do not commit the fallacy of methodology blindness that lured new researchers in the abyss of confusion and statistical errors. Sometimes our preoccupation about quality removes, okay, removes us from the quality that our research deserves. Why? Because we tend to do hodgepodge methods or a mixed method, a mixed method that is not really mixed, or a design that is not actually a design because we deem that that is the most appropriate. However, alignment is not present. Remember, there's no such thing as a hodgepodge method, but there is a mixed method which is a structured research design. It is carefully crafted and designed to match the needs of your research study. Always remember, your research objectives drives everything in your research. It is your first objective lens that can see through on the walls and blocks of your research case. It drives everything from your research problems up to the method of your study. So again, researchers, I want you to remember, be consistent, be enthusiastic, and be relevant. Do not start with an immediate title that you do not know where it will go, but start with your interests, followed by the specific concern, and think on how your respondents will benefit on your research work through a proposed research output. Whether it's quantitative or qualitative or mixed method, researchers should always establish integrity on the data that he or she is collecting. And that integrity can only be intensified if there is alignment from your research proposal, from the variables that is in your study, and from the data that you have collected. Research design is a relevant element, a very important element in your research work, even at the proposal stage. So, I want to repeat this. Your research proposal is the culmination, okay? It is the entry point, okay? It's the entry point on showcasing all the knowledge that you have gained in your research subject. And of course, your research defense. Surpassing your research defense is your legacy in the field of the discipline, in the field of discipline that you are belonging. Once again, good morning and God bless us all. Thank you.